In this presentation, I'm going to show you how to create ODBC data source names using OpenLink's single-tier Lite Edition drivers for Progress SQL92 connectivity. I'm going to be working with a 32-bit Windows operating system. If you intend to create your own ODBC data source names using 64-bit Windows or another operating system such as Mac OS X, Linux, or Unix, you do want to stop now and locate the video that pertains to your situation. Additionally, I do want to point out that this video presumes that you know some basic information about the Progress database to which you want to connect. You need to be certain that that database is running in sockets. You need to know the socket parameters associated with that database. These are the capital S, capital H, and capital N parameters passed to the database at startup. And you do need to be certain that that database is running in SQL92 mode, also known as SQL mode or mixed mode. That said, let's begin the actual procedure. We're going to start off by locating our ODBC Data Sources Administrator. We're going to click Start. You may notice that my own ODBC Administrator is right here on the root of my Programs menu. Your own administrator is liable to be within the Control panel. So we're going to go that route. Note that the administrator tends not to be in the root of the Control panel. You are more likely to find it in the Administrative Tools subfolder. Here it is. We're going to double click it. Here you have the option of creating a user DSN or data source name available only to the operating system user who created it. You can create a system DSN available to anyone who has access to the system, or a file DSN. File DSNs have their attributes saved to text files that you can share with others in your network. Once others obtain these files, they can use the attributes contained within to create their own ODBC connections to Progress. OpenLink suggests that you always work with system DSNs whenever possible, so I'm going to demonstrate use of the System DSN tab. Click that, click Add. Scroll through the driver list box until you find your OpenLink Lite driver for Progress. Note that there are both Unicode and non-Unicode variants of this driver. You would only choose the Unicode driver if you were working with multi-byte character sets. If you're not working with multi-byte character sets, go with the non-Unicode driver. Click Finish. The first parameter to appear in the data source name setup dialog is name. This parameter allows you to create a simple title for your data source. Just keep it brief and don't use any special characters. Description is an optional field. You can use it to create a reminder to yourself about the nature or purpose of this data source name. Click Next. The database name field takes the full path to your Progress database. Include the .db extension on the end. If some instances, if the Progress database is hosted on a Windows operating system, you can get away with just passing the database name with the .db extension. You don't need the path. Host name, this takes the host name or IP address of the machine that hosts your Progress database. This value corresponds with the value passed to -H at startup. The port takes the TCP port on which that database is listening for incoming connections. This value corresponds with the value passed to -S when the database was started up. Show remarks is a more advanced parameter. It has no bearing on basic connectivity, so we're going to skip that parameter for the time being. Ensure that the Connect Now box is checked, and pass a Progress username, which is mandatory for all SQL92 connections. And if there is a password associated with that username, do pass it in this password box. Click Next. The fact that we've arrived here at this third data source name configuration or setup dialog is a very good sign. Whenever that Connect Now checkbox is checked, the driver is instructed to test a rudimentary connection, and we would not have arrived here if that connection had failed. With that in mind, let's just keep going to the end of the setup dialog so that we can perform a formal test. Just keep in mind that any other parameters that you see are advanced and have no bearing on just basic get up and running type connectivity. Here you want to click the Test Data Source button, and we have established a successful connection. This data source name is now available and ready for use. Just click Finish to preserve your data source name and you should be all set. This concludes this lesson.